You need to make sure the value of the land speaks for itself. You need to make sure you create the value release, equity release, and empower the people.
Now, land. We brought to you a land master by the name of Gilbert Sesinyi, the land philosopher.
Great things are conceived in darkness, and the struggle and the pain and the ignorance is actually an advantage for us to be able to now interrogate.
Going back to the land, the current numbers, including those that are titled, agriculture contributes to GDP. Despite that 70% of land being in agriculture, is less than 2.5% contribution to GDP, 2.5%, despite employing 30% of the country. This is from Statistics Botswana. On this land, for those Babalema, the average, according to Statistics Botswana, is 0.5 tons per hectare, when the global average is 4 hectares, and some are even doing 4 hectares. Now, what the policy transformations, which we've been talking about, titling of Meraka, titling of Masimo and all that facilitate this transformation.
Title is the key. From 1885 to 1985, after it's the first time we got title to tribal land. Can you believe it? Can you believe that we don't have title to the concession that are making millions upon millions?
No title.
No title. What is the value of the A1, for example? How much land is the A1? Do you know the A1 from Ramatlabama to Ramakhomama doesn't have a title deed? Do you know what if it had a title deed and we value that title deed, what it will mean? This whole thing, title, Botswana, they don't really know what title is. There's been people who have been saying that, no, how you can't have title deed for tribal land. I mean, these are professionals saying that. It's so untrue.
Welcome to the Growth Well podcast, where we tap into a well of knowledge, innovation, and leadership to fuel Africa's growth. Here, we explore thought-provoking insights and expert knowledge that empower individuals and businesses to thrive across the continent. Whether it's personal development or professional advancement, our conversations inspire action and impact. This is Growth Well, where ideas flow and growth begins. Let's dive in.
Cool. Welcome to Growth Well Podcasts. Sidiba Sametsi Amolemo. Today we are going to be looking at land and agriculture. And first of all, before I go into land into agriculture, just recall that we had Dr. Sinto in our last episode talking about livestock farming. This is a series on agriculture that we're running. And thanks for all those that gave us beautiful feedback regarding the insights provided by the mad doctor. That was really exciting. But today we are looking at now land. We've brought to you a land master by the name of Gilbert Sesinyi, the land philosopher.
My brother.
Welcome. This is going to be, especially following up on where we left our friend Dr. Sint is going to be quite exciting.
Brother.
Yeah, brother. Yes, because we went to school together, same age.
Yes.
You know?
Same room.
Same room.
In the same
room. Yes.
Yeah.
But together we had PASC.
PASC.
And if we had to just have an episode about those experiences, that
would be another series. It's a series.
Okay, now, dig it as I call you. First of all, before I go into this, I just like people to know you beyond the land activist, the land professional. So do you just mind sharing about who is Dikoti? Just a little bit about your background, family, whatever you want to share, so that you are a human being.
No, that's an interesting, curious question.
Yeah.
Because that's a question I'm still finding out. Typically, just a Botswana child born, and then moved to Francistown earlier years, but grew up in Pique Primary, Pico Primary School, Kopano. And then I was laughing the other day, my friends, I was also alumni go SPSS, because I went in for a week.
Before
Kakumedi.
Yes. Because I was wondering how
there was a friend of mine who was very naughty. And we were naughty together from primary. So my father decided, no.
So this thing is not new.
It's not new.
Your non-conformist attitude.
It comes with the make of the person. So and secondly, my father decided, no. They're not going to go to SPSS because that that
lad is
boy
there.
is there.
Yeah.
And then he decided, to move. So then I went to Moeding, finished Moeding, went to Tiralo Setšhaba. He did the whole year there, came, went to University of Botswana. Back then, we had privileges. All you needed to do was just pass to get scholarships to go and study abroad. So
especially the science-based ones.
The science-based ones, exactly. So we got that opportunity, and we went. I went to Canada with some group there, and then studied land surveying. Land surveying was instructed by my father. I never knew.
Yeah, no, I read in the book that
it was your father. And he just had this thing. So then I came back and gathered a lot of experience in the in-between, the difference between when I was here, when I was there. And being a very curious type of personality and a transiting human being. I've changed so many times. One day I'm a Muslim, the next day I'm a Christian.
You used to deal with health products at some stage.
I'm a traditional doctor.
Exactly.
I actually opened a clinic.
Yes, I know
and found myself having this clinic under the banner of a traditional doctor and people. It got so hectic at some point, but it had to be done. I had to go through it. It is all part of being gathering the experience of life and reflecting on it, and then the land thing just came. I think it's around COVID. Then we were in enclosure, we're in lockdown. That thing then burst something in me. I was still pursuing. I was a land surveyor, typical land surveyor.
I remember I used to engage you. I used to engage you to go check some of the properties.
Do what this and do a title deed for you. But that's normal land surveying. The thing that I'm into now is not typical.
You stepped it up.
PS, it's just burst. Inside, which is the coming to birth of the person. All I'm just doing is just going to serve.
It's just another phase.
Yes, and just keep going. And I think with other experiences, of course. I'm married. I was married. I'm divorced now.
I know,
had children. Lost the son.
Yes.
Went
so sorry about that. It was very tragic.
Brother, I was completely okay. I mean, I told my friend that the tears have dried. And it was it's always all for a purpose. And even what you come to know, there's nothing that doesn't have a reason. Everything is sequential. Every experience fits into another. So even what I learned about land, had I not gone through what I went through, I wouldn't know. You need to reflect on life as a positive experience all the time. So everything that I went through, I used to work. I think we were in one company together. I'm sure you remember me being fired, or I would be fired ruthlessly. And I said it wasn't the first time I was fired. I was fired in all the jobs I've ever worked. That's how I started realizing there's no point now me looking for a job.
We better again.
I must tap into. So that's Gilbert on a personal scale, with a bit of blend, what the work that I now do, which is, somebody labeled me a land activist. I think it was Ramokhobi. He decided that I never called myself that.
You just
went into this space where I felt there needed to be a closing of a gap in knowledge and understanding, where I started putting the pieces together and even reflecting on why my father told me to become a land surveyor. It started making sense long after he had gone. But because, I was just an obedient child, when he told me to do it, I didn't refuse. I just went to do it, but I didn't know what it was. So even in school was very painful for me. I know you have a bit of knowledge about how even when we were at school, I don't think you remember seeing me in the lecture room. No, I wouldn't go to class.
When I went to Matthew, he's moving around.
We just want to talk and do other things and talk about
and Madonna score, waiting for Madonna score.
Then we want to just get it.
How the hell he went to Canada? He's like, whoa.
See? So you never give up on your children. You never give up on little things. So look at school when I was in Canada there, it was always a problem. The professors, what one professor once says to me, but you should be in philosophy.
Yes, you should.
He wanted to actually pull me into philosophy area. Dean's list you, we will get no. I was sponsored to come and do land surveying. I do land surveying. I'm going back home. I can't be becoming a lecturer or professor writing books of philosophy.
Excellent.
There's other needs.
Excellent.
So, that was a liberal course, an elective study, where a subject out of the core. So I came back home and worked as a land surveyor, or rather, worked as a land surveyor, filled in the shoes of a land surveyor and learned the craft of land surveying and was just an ordinary land surveyor. But Kinsika absorber, the issues that I come across on all levels. Interrogator, because I'm never satisfied with just normal answers. I'm the sort of person that if you give me just normal explanations, I won't settle for that, because I always know there's something hidden, and I know treasure is hidden. Treasure is never on the surface. On the surface, it's for everybody. But if you really want the value of life, you got to dig deep.
Absolutely.
And go and look for it.
That's what I love about you, because, I mean, you say Mokhobe has called you a land activist. I call you a land philosopher. Why I'm saying land philosopher is because, you got a mathematical philosopher, you got metaphysics, you got guys who are into psychology from a philosophical point of view.
Right.
And I like philosophers because some of them used to write things and hide them from the public because they might get executed. I remember people like John Locke wrote some papers and he couldn't publish because it was tearing on blasphemy and stuff like that. So you are challenging things that are, and some of the benefits of what you do might even come much, much, much later. That's what philosophers do. Nonconformists, but breaking new ground. That's how countries and the world progresses.
Absolutely.
So that's my label.
But I wouldn't hide, contrary to that philosopher, I'm a little different. I wouldn't hide what I write.
Because
no, people still do get killed in countries. And well, I mean, when I went into the national scene with my advocacy and my sharing my ideas, I did get a fair amount of being followed around. It was in the other admin that just kept left. But I wasn't political. But they had they would be listening to my phone. There was an interference into my life, and they would come to some places where I am to listen. But I saw some of them applaud when I would make a good point. I lost fear for such things when I lost my son. I literally operate like somebody who's already dead. So you can't threaten me either with the loss of income or with the loss of life. For me, that doesn't, because of the way God has intervened in my life and shaped the character. So sometimes these things are bigger than us. I mean, we come from, there was a time when we were not here. And then all of a sudden we appeared.
That's true.
And then all of a sudden, at some point, we disappear. So there's something in between, something before we were born, from our parents, their yearning. I always say that is the product of the yearning of the people out of whom we come. That they desired one day. Even this reality, it's a desired reality that one day there will be a possibility of having interactions. I mean, I've known you for many years, but we didn't. But this was to happen.
Exactly.
All along.
Even from the days of when my lopsec used to play with the guys
together. Yes.
On that note, talking about people disappeared, let's get a bit of a light note here.
Okay.
Now, colleagues, in the previous episodes, I've talked about that this podcast is going to be underlined by fun and health and happiness. So from the past couple of weeks, I've had a lot of people calling me saying, hey, this thing, a cold shower is working for me. I'm trying it. It's difficult. So I just thought I should give you some glimpse of the actual benefits of a cold shower. And I did define this temporary stress that our bodies need as hormetic stress. Now, when you stress a body, whether you're seeing a lion or being scared, you go into what they call fight or flight. And the body generates this constellation of cells, immunology cells, like neutrophils or lymphocytes. Those are cells that boost your immune level. So immunity is a critical part of these types of stresses like a cold shower. So I just wanted to tell you that there is actually clear benefits from a biological and medicinal perspective. In addition, just to prove to you, a study was done in Netherlands, 3,000 people, and out of those, some had the cold shower in the morning, some warm shower in the morning, and they demonstrated that those that had a cold shower had 29% less sick days, 30%. So there you go, good benefits. On that note, back to Radico Tea. You take cold showers.
I would try. I mean, being curious, I've never done it, but I mean, nothing is,
It's amazing. Some people say they've actually stopped having coffee, the caffeine to boost the mood in the morning. When they have a cold shower, now they are all singing and happy because of the cold shower.
I can imagine.
So it's quite amazing.
I use electricity it's called a zapper from a technology Halder clock.
Okay.
Where you electrify your body with a certain frequency to create, vitality.
Yes, in your body.
There's so many things in the universe.
Yeah,
the universe has everything. But the only thing with alternative, which clearly a cold shower is something outside the alternative therapy. It's easy. Is that the only thing is that if you don't say it repeatedly to the audience, then they might hear you. But they can't retain it long enough to take it into practice. There's always you need to almost hypnotize them. Yes, give them
that's
this.
Why I'm keep doing this.
You must keep doing
that's
this.
Why I didn't want to change from the cold shower to something else.
I need to keep it at that. Then they'll hear you.
Yeah, great stuff. But you also said, back to the subject, you said you're a chartered surveyor. Can you tell us about the chartering part?
Yeah,
what that
registered land surveyor.
Is it
registered land surveyor? Yes, yes. What that means is that, you must have a degree in land surveying, but I think now the Act has even permitted a degree in environmental science or in geography, or sometimes even if you're an architect, by the way. The Act has accommodated other related disciplines. And you have enough practice, particularly in the area, legal work when it comes to surveying, because surveying's got two aspects to it. It has got the engineering side, the side that supports developments, construction, mines, what have you, all that. Surveying is always at the base of even the army, even, civil work and other things. And then there's a side that deals with boundaries, their legalities and their encroachments and their rights and their implications, servitudes, titles, all these things. Those things that lead to home ownership in those terms. So that requires registration. You must sit exams for that and get an actual. There's exams that are set according to the Act. The government controls these in this day, and you go and you write the exam, and then when you pass, then you are registered land surveyor. But you still do the engineering. It's just that this one is more highly placed in society. So when you get a registered land surveyor, you're talking about such a fellow who can then gain access to joining other professional fraternities around the world globally.
I got it. No. I know it can be quite emotive.
Yes.
And but why it was important for me to get you here is because, as you've even written in your book, we've got such a huge landmass in Botswana, and I think we have, even as citizens, we have failed to understand the potential of this piece of land, 70% of it being tribal land and in agriculture. And remember, the essence today is land from an agriculture perspective. 50% of Botswana is under no title. That's what you also wrote. I can't believe that in terms of leveraging the opportunity of land and just taking it away from Botswana as well. We've got Africa. I don't know if you said you don't do too much Facebook, but there's always this map where people show how China and the States, they can all fit into Africa. We've got massive lands, both Sudan, both Algeria, both the DRC. We've got such an asset. And why this is dear to me is agriculture is a critical component of Africa and Botswana. We say it all the time. But how have we failed to leverage this landmass? If we can just take it from there, you've given an example of being 2.3 million, and that in terms of the number of people per square kilometer versus your France, and just elucidate on that as to actually we are rich, as you said.
Yes, no, indeed. Land rich, catch poor. Is how we have come to understand our circumstances. Well, this is a process. I never say we have failed. We are coming into awareness and coming into being, becoming of age, as we say, because we have a history. You can't discount. No one just pops up from nowhere. Everybody is a product of their historical perspective and content and influence and the circumstances. The history of Black people is very common. Even if you go to the Isles of the Pacific or the Caribbeans or you go to America, you find Black people there. If you look at their relationship with knowledge, with their ability to sustain themselves, with their economic outlook, with their cohesiveness, with their cultural identity. There are similarities, and there is gaps that because the history is common. We have a common history with Black Americans, whether we realize it or not, but we do. Now, but though we differ, because we are at different stages and some are in different localities. So historically, Africa, we've had a perspective about land, but now Ghana, you are not an island. So every people interacts with other people. So your history is then influenced by the history of other people who may be more advanced in one way, but being advanced doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. It just means at that time, they just happen to have that historical advantage. And how it's good to come from behind. I have always thought, in fact, we are more blessed. And even like I said to you earlier that, life, great things are conceived in darkness. And the struggle and the pain and the ignorance is actually an advantage for us to be able to now interrogate. It's actually an advantage starting from a
blank
point
slate.
of blank slate.
Blank slate, yeah.
With all the advantages of seeing everybody else who excels in what they do and try and make sense of things. And then the minute you can build the picture and see things for what they actually are, then you have the springboard to leapfrog yourself into further than the one that was ahead of you. It's great to come from behind. But, it may seem morbid and heavy and depressing at that moment. But because you're not reflecting holistically, you are just looking at your circumstances as at that point. Historically, there is always a philosophy of land. That's what I've said. Amongst any people anywhere in the world where you may find them, there is always a means and a ways that people believe they should interact with the habitat, with the ecology, with the environment for sustenance. But that philosophy, depending on its relevance, depending on how it actually even connects with other people who are also interactive, as we now in a global village, you can't discount other people. To its relevance to that particular dynamism or dynamic of interaction, that will determine the success of those people or their failure or whatever it is that is to be the outcome of it. So at any given point in time, things are evolving. At any given point in time, people used to love people. In 500 years ago, people didn't express love the way you and I express it. They would express it differently, but it was still love. That's why there was a philosophy of love. But it doesn't mean the way I express love today, because it differs from the way I expressed love yesterday, is not love. It is just that it has evolved to suit the circumstances of the
today.
time. Yes. So you cannot use an outdated methodology or logic or way of doing things in a different epoch. You are like a fish out of water. You are not relevant. So therefore, that thing won't work for you. So we need to be cognizant of what land is today, how land works today. We must know how it profits those that are able to benefit in this civilization, not that civilization. Don't imagine yourself out of any other civilization, because otherwise the land would are yes. So yes, certainly Africans, you have the land. So, but having land means nothing. Having land is how we were found when we interacted with the civilizations that came from other parts of the world.
The settlers
we
who
had
came,
the land. But they said, but you don't understand it the way we do. There is a science of how you harness and extract value from land. There is a science of how you utilize land for it to be able to sustain you. And we are not practicing that, but they figured that out. I'm sure they did, but they used it as an advantage. In fact, they determined how they then thought of us as less or as inferior to them, because we didn't have a knowledge that would match theirs. So
the natives.
They could say, the natives. So they created native land. And that native land is the 70%, by the way. That 70%, what was called
that
tribal
they allocated
land.
to us
Yes.
and our forefathers.
Oh, yes. And said then they formed a Native Advisory Council.
Yes.
In 1919. Yes, that Native Advisory Council is to advise the natives in accordance with the way the natives, the philosophy they're using on land, how they wish to continue. Rona, 7% and 23%, which is crown land. 7% is where we do what we call freehold. And that demonstrates our philosophy. That is advanced, monetized, that knows no limits, that understands that the sky is the limit. That is automated. That is guarded by legislation. That is guarded by... So they wouldn't... it's so comprehensive this thing that it will blow your mind away, because in any country there's a deeds registry. There's nothing that is there that is of no purpose.
That demarcation, was it racist? Inclined?
Totally. It was the first instance of racism. Yes, because they decided that this is for the natives. Natives were black people, it was us. And then this is for the whites. It was them. And they had control, remember? And then they determined, as and when they wanted to chip away into the 70%, they would come in. Like, for example, Sectional roads needed some servitudes. He wanted to build the railway line. So he would contact chiefs and whatnot, and they would have discussed. Then he would come in. And he comes in, he brings in the wisdom of their philosophy of land into this. Ours was just continue having this land, big land, more land than them, but no match to them. Because they understood. You see, it is knowledge that separates people. It is not bulk of what you own. And the majority of what we have done is that we have enjoyed bulk and we have fought for bulk. And even the liberation wars, even what's happening in Zimbabwe, I've often said that, then you got the land and then what? Because that's not the problem. The problem is not that he took the land from you. The problem is more than that. Because even with the land, you didn't know. Remember when you took it, you had it and we were not using it
already.
And you didn't learn even in between. And they gathered these things naturally. Nobody liberates anybody. Nobody empowers anybody. You empower yourself. Once you find out you have an issue, you stand up. That's why they say when the student is ready, then the teacher appears.
Up.
Yeah. So, then you would go into understanding what we lack the philosophy of land in Africa, as my book says. And that's why I say we need to unlock it. To unlock it means to bring it into connectivity with the highest cutting edge. I'm not about the cutting edge. I know the advantage of having been left so far behind. We are not playing. When we talk unlocking value, we're talking about Dubai-style models. We're talking about what happens in your Singapores, in your Hong Kongs, 3D, whatnot. We're starting on, but now, of course, we have to do it gently because it's too much of a rise because it's out of total darkness. Out of complete darkness, I've then said to myself, I have to calm down because this thing bothered me so much when I saw it that it made me angry. I got angry at authorities, so angry at them because I realized how wasteful they were, they were missing low-hanging fruits, opportunities. They were so naive.
But you are contradicting yourself.
Yes.
You said we shouldn't say we've lost out or we failed, which is the tone of your book. Or we are sitting on a diamond, apart from the diamond from the mines. But at the same time, you are saying we should not be harsh on ourselves. There's time for everything.
Yes.
Well, you're not saying that.
I am.
Yes. I'm trying to match your tone and the fights.
Yes.
And to say, guys, we've got kids who can leverage this land, who can extract more.
Yes.
Let's wake up.
Yes.
The agitator.
I think I must contradict myself. Because I'm a contradiction. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't a contradiction to share this, brother. Yes. We wanna come up, but we don't wanna break.
Yeah.
We don't wanna crack. It's a delicate process. That's why I say, I have to assume both roles. I have to be a teacher. I have to calm down because I have to feel pity. Because sometimes I recognize that they're genuine. I was talking about development plans the other day, and it occurred to me that the authorities, I'm talking about the highest, minister, PS, all of them, just don't know what those things are, really what they are. That's why there's
just the development plans, the
development plans. Yeah, local plans.
Yes.
No, I'm talking about the development plans.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Development,
for districts and so forth.
Districts, local, municipalities.
As a national development plans.
Yes. They don't know what they are. We took government, but we didn't take a hold of governance. The whole symphony, it's like an orchestra. That's why it works like a charm when the ones who originated work it out. I was talking about Pique, Orapa, Joining, Francistown even. These towns, and my friend was saying to me, look at the way when these whites would come and set up a town and the synergy that they establish. And go Pique, we had Womakubu, this was money from the mine. Ba kgona go tsaya madi from the workers in the member to finance the social clubs so that there is life that would entertain the. We had like it was an ecosystem. We had like what you could think all intertwined with the and finance and donkey debbies. It was
actually the mines are very good with that.
But it's a system. It's to sustain the community. You need to be able to know what things exactly. Services are related, and then you make sure industrial site must be there to relate with the mine. So when you come and disconnect the industrial side, it drops. And you're studying sourcing things out.
Becomes more expensive for the mine.
So there was this industrial side that was thriving because the mine was there. There was this community at this club because the workers were there. They were members. And
this is in Peakwe, yes. With the BCL mine.
Oh, brother. I mean, my peers, though, or those that I grew up with, when we talk about Peakwe, and when we remember, it's like we came up from the future into the past. Right now, you go to Peakwe, back into the past. That's because those who knew how those things are just left. And when they left, we took positions, but we didn't take the system. They are not richer. They are more knowledgeable. They have a system that they acquiesce. They work according to the rules and the dictates of that system. We need to know the rules. There are rules here. Otherwise, you'll find potholes. There are no potholes in a civilization that understands the interrelationship between value of land and beneficiary and how you the beneficiary of that asset. So this thing has to be worked out and understood and seen for what it is. So you go to Rapa, the lawn stops growing. All of a sudden, we don't have clubs. We can't go to the movies. The whites are gone. When the white man leaves, the place just gets dried up and we lose. And then we want to go and follow them wherever they are because they know what they're doing. They've got systems. Wherever they go, but set up a system. I mean, I said that Cecil John Rhodes, he didn't bring money to set up the railway line, but his dream, listen to it, Cape to Cairo. He said he was going to Cairo. Okay, he died about 50 years or 49 thereabouts. But his dream was to go to Cairo. That's why he did South Africa Hades. I did Botswana Hades. I did Zimbabwe. I think Rhodesia had passed. I think it was going to land in Zambia or something. Yeah? And that's why we want to get our title deed home. We had to go and wrestle it out of the arms of the Rhodesia. So there was a title deed. Notice? What is this title deed? I mean,
in the 19th century. In the 19th century.
If you've ever taken a title deed, don't assume you know because you are a learned man, you've used it before. No. Look at a title deed. Go and get an old title deed. Look at it. Just understand what a title deed is. And don't teach it topically.
Dig it or come to the title deed and the tenure system. I want you to appreciate this. And again, to size for the listener the size of opportunity. They said, the experts say, for Africa, we'll have 9 billion people in the world by 2050. This is in about 25 years' time.
Yeah.
And they say 60% of the required arable land to feed those 9 billion people sits in Africa. And I guess the chunk of it is also in Botswana.
Right.
So I just want you to, for the listener to say, the opportunity, is it what you are agitating and what, is it a huge opportunity? Is it a sizable opportunity? Is it something that, it's if like you've been talking about people not knowing development plans, fighting the previous government in terms of, do you think if things can sway in the visions of people like yourselves, we might just get there faster than we needed to?
Yes. I think I hear your question. And I would, I want to get away from thinking what it is when people go the way we think, and some of us who are like-minded, the way we think, you see, because then it takes away from explaining this thing as a science independent of
individuals
thinking, and their
yes.
thoughts.
Yeah,
yes. So certainly the only chance we stand and the opportunity that we have, given the land mass. Don't worry about what's in the land and, I get somebody talking about Botswana is by and large the desert. Those stereotypes must just be kept at bay because first we start with land. Yeah, because land you can do all sorts of things on it. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
This thing, the narrative. Botswana is semi-arid, Kalahari Desert. I remember the first time some of us who had not driven to the West, when we read about Botswana being desert, especially on the Western front.
Right.
And then you take the first drive from Johannesburg, and that was like, I'm still looking for the desert.
Yeah. You're wondering what sort of desert. Yes.
Yeah, that
the
type of
richest
narrative.
grasses in the desert.
Exactly.
So we just have to be careful.
The settlers settled in Hansi. They saw there's water, there's good grazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, back to you.
So it's I don't want to use my what I've grown to understand as elitist or as the way the only way of getting people good as a science. So that basically what I'm trying to say there is when we become more acclimatized to that reality, currently we are using substandard systems, and so substandard that in fact, if I was to say to you, 1885 was when the settlers arrived, thereabouts, and made that determination where they ended up having the tenure system that breaks Botswana into 70% and 7%. Do you know that it is only in 1985? 1985. We talk about like 1885. In 1985.
100 years.
100 years later, that after the President Masira commissioned a study to see what we needed to do to have title to land, because it bothered him. I mean, one of the reasons my father told me to come and become a land surveyor, he wanted me to do exactly what I'm doing, to crack this thing, because it bothered him. Our parents are bothered by this thing.
Yeah.
It just bothered him. How come? I mean, the guy so what's wrong? Nature. There's a road.
It's
here.
the same chunk. It's the
same
same
land. It's just land sitting next to each other. It depends how you use it. And we've got that reality. I mean, I'm dealing with such realities where this side, the value is out of the window because it's given a name, and this side is home. And I interrogate those reasons and find out they're non-existent. They're just illusions, things that we have entertained for too long. From 1885 to 1985, after is the first time we got title to tribal land. Can you believe it?
Really?
Yeah. Can you believe that we don't have title to the concession that are making millions upon millions?
No title.
And
by sheer inheritance from an old system.
Yes.
Not what we decided, just leaving an old system in place.
And leaving an old system in place. And those who left us that system encouraged us to continue that way because it benefits them.
I just say.
Oh, yes. The people by the concession. There's nothing more beautiful than coming to lease from a concession. Exactly. Because they don't know its value.
Cheaper,
How are you going to know the value of it if you don't have title to it? So it's still amongst us. But I'm saying it took 100 years to get the first title on tribal land. It still eludes many professionals. What is that title? What are the implications of it? So we have an opportunity to revolutionize the understanding and deepen it, especially amongst the children, and give them the benefit of the cutting edge knowledge, which is current, is there. But I mean, why would you be so surprised when Cecil John Rose had a title DDI railway line? Even a lead power line. I mean, I've spoken to authorities, BPC, and asked them, and some of them have considered, but because somebody left you the system who knows better. So if you don't have title to land, then it becomes excruciatingly difficult to extract its value using the modern day systems, the financing tools. That's why toll gates are so reputable in terms of the quality of the road.
Yeah.
But the same thing obtains even in townships. It's just an invisible toll gate. This is why they wanted to put toll gates in Joburg, and they fell into such a brouhaha. Just take them off, but it doesn't mean that you don't have them.
The model
you make them virtual. Because toll gates just means when you are paying for the road you are using in that area. So how do you do that? By paying rates. If the neighborhood, those people in that neighborhood pay rates, and then you calculate those rates. It's all mechanistic and it's all formulas and it's done in a perfect way. And then they take title to those roads and they are able, municipalities have the right to borrow money. Now, you can't say, I don't want to borrow money in this society, in this civilization. Then you want to achieve the scale of development that is required, that you can. And some of the things are so safe. For example, like a title deed for a graveyard. Like we die. So what is the risk of having a title deed for a graveyard? Go to Pumulong, for example. It's such a simple model, but it eludes the common mind because, so we've got graves, citizenal title deed. But there are so. That's value, can. Our dead bodies are creative value for Pumulong. Oh, yes. I have to say it. I have to say it.
We have to pay a particular fee.
And we pay a fee.
Yeah.
But we want decent burials. So we would pay a fee for our own. It's our bodies that populate Pumulong. It's not from some guy who's on Nicolic comes from Europe. I mean, it's not Europeans who are populating there. I know it's us who are going there. So wouldn't it make sense if that business was yours and mine?
Absolutely.
But the Rapaloki, why doesn't the Botswana mind conceive, which is coming now because we're teaching, conceive title even for burial grounds and create nice, green, dignified burial grounds fast. We'll pay you a fee. So title liberka financing of this liberka. Once you have an asset, you get title for it, and then it has an income stream. Finished. Where it is asset and its income stream. So police station, define income stream. Will we stop speeding? No. So is there any risk in them collecting anything for this police station?
No, not at all.
But Havana title deed for the police station, no title deed for the Patela. Yet we come there. Marina, what do you think is they don't even know the value of Marina. What is the value of your asset?
Absolutely. And we build such expensive assets. When you talk about
down the drain.
Exactly.
And
you can leverage that, and you can leverage it apart from the rates. You can leverage this to actually go to the bank as a government and capitalize instead of emptying your fiscus.
Exactly. It's what we call debt capital. It means that you've sunk and you're not realizing. And it's a hidden thing. Me because it bedevils even our president, for example. I mean, I know that we need to talk to him about this.
Exactly.
These are low-hanging fruits.
Yeah, it's
not criticism.
Yeah.
It sounds like criticism because it intimidates those who are afraid of knowledge. Title is the key. And we should be able to look at agriculture like that. And when you do town and country planning.
We'll come to that out.
All right,
because we need to, there are people here who don't understand the tenure system. We've been talking about title, tribal land.
Right.
It's like, what the hell is that? So, and we'll come to that because the normal person right now, but all over the show, there are 5 hectares, 12 hectares, what, and I like this thing, title, is there an opportunity and what the policy says around it. But first, let's break it down this 3 system. I know you've discussed the history, where it comes from. We've appreciated that. Now, in summary, what was called crown and state land and all that. Just get a glass of water, more water.
But don't worry about me sweating. I heat up. This thing is so...
No.
There's an engine in there.
Hey, so let's go through that. Yes. Because we did analytics of our podcast. We've got a lot of young people. 25, 30, and they are really, really dying for this type of information.
Yes. Of course, the tenure system it was broken up into 3 categories. One being the tribal land tenure, which is 70% of the country, the bulk of the country.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Batswana ba ko ka bontsi.
In fact, tota khuma rona iko. As you can imagine, 70%.
When you say 70%, I've been reading all
the country.
Is it 70% of the 580,000?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So that's
70% tribal land.
And what does it mean, tribal land?
It means it's administered by the land board.
Okay.
Yeah. Administered on behalf of the tribe.
These days we're very careful in terms of political correctness using the words like tribes because some people think tribe is an old-fashioned savage natives.
Yeah.
That's why
they
partly
changed.
knowing you.
Yeah. No.
They changed it
They
now.
changed the word to say not necessarily on behalf of the tribe, but on behalf of the nation. Or
Okay,
the
so that
people.
has been changed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they altered that. But
Okay.
basically what it meant is it was in the hands of the Khosi.
Yes. That's where it comes from. I got you.
Yeah, but the Khosi ha ska nna lona yano. I ne land board.
Land board to administer. Okay.
So this 70% is administered under land board.
Okay.
On behalf of the people.
Yes, we'll talk more about land board later.
Yeah.
And
then we've got 23%, which is called crown land. Well, historically called crown land, but
Crown
which is
from
actually
the queen, the crown. Yes,
but it's actually state land.
State land.
Yeah, that's where you have your towns, mainly. Yes, and developments, towns. Villages are on tribal land.
But even infrastructure, like the roads are sitting on state land and all that.
Within these boundaries. 23% township. Gaborone has got a township definition. Lobatse has got a township definition. Francistown has got a township definition. Silibe Pico has got a township definition like that. So that's 23%. And it's state
almost
land.
a quarter.
Yeah. Then you got 7%, which is freehold land. That was the settlers' area that we've now infiltrated. Bopakalani now have come through.
Yes.
You know, and we've gone in now. Now there's no more settlers.
Yes.
It's just it's freehold. The word settlers' land has fallen away. So then you have Gaborone North, you have your Pakalanis, then you have your Khansi, your Tati, your Tui blocks.
So Molopo, all these farms, which are dominated mainly by farmers who are associated with the past in terms of settling.
Yes.
Why freehold? Look, I'm very inquisitive. I always sometimes we use names just then and wonder why are you using that name.
It's a very good question. Why freehold? Yeah. We must interrogate, brother.
I know.
I
know you are a very inquisitive fella.
Yes. Because the universe has answers to all questions. So we must ask and seek and ye shall find. So freehold was just a definition to say in perpetuity, to be owned forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where
that's where the word freehold comes from. Okay. Now, the state land, it's freehold for government.
Okay.
You understand?
Because
but they pass those rights. Yes. And then they pass those rights to individuals.
Okay.
Yeah. Or entities.
Like when you're looking for industrial plot in
Gaborone, they'll give you 50 years.
Yes, 50 year lease.
They'll give you fixed term grants, what they call fixed term grants.
I got you.
Or leases. So tribal land is also freehold to the tribe or to the people. But they are administering it through a trust, which is what the land board is. Yeah. A trust.
So if you get a free, just to make it very clear to the listener, when you are getting a free piece of 40 by 40 inland Jeletau, that's a tribal land administered under the land board for a period.
Correct. For a period, has been for a period, because we need to, I must show you also, bring you up to speed.
Okay.
So land boards, that's why I get land by and large, kini freehold. But the way it was managed, it depends. If it's to an owner, they say 7% freehold. If it's to government, they say 23% freehold to government, who then passes those rights as fixed-term grants to those who own it. If it is 70% home, it's 70% freehold. The tribe owns it forever, remember? But they pass on those rights through a trust to other people who can have on a fixed-term basis. Lease. But now, there's a new act in place that has now allowed that be in perpetuity. It's called what they call the secure land title, which is it was enacted in 2022. On the 20th of April.
Okay.
It's called maybe it's a secure land title in government circles, but it's a deed of customary grant in terms of the act, the real terminology. So it allows perpetuity. So we do have perpetuity now on tribal land. Yes, the board, the state, on behalf of the people, the tribe, will pass you on those rights forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an individual.
Okay. Yeah. The secure land title, maybe it's a secure land title. It's just as good as freehold now. Yeah, it has its problems, but the intention is for you to give freehold. But at the end of the day, we are able to get title from tribal land. The key,
we are able to.
Yes,
because that's where I wanted to drive to.
The key is
whether A lot of people are masimo ko magaeng. Remember all allocated, you know, where the overseer, land overseer, and the thing they allocate to you, and you hold in this land.
Right.
What they say, it's a tankana a lot of the time because you can use it as collateral.
Right.
What does now, just take us through it. As a tribal land, you got a 5 hectare next to Madingwane Korolong.
Yes.
What, how does it, can you now title it?
Yes, you can title it. You can title it easy. The thing is, obviously, we have teething problems with the new program, air secure land title.
Yes, that's why I'm related to that.
Everybody has been asked to go, and I'm pretty sure whoever it is that owns whatever, they've been asked to go to land board to go and sign up. So people have signed up. They've been asked. They were given a deadline even. There was a time when it was supposed to be done in 6 months. I think we put the thing too high. We're going to title it, but title it using the new system, perpetual ownership, secure land title. But there was another way of doing these titles before. Not the same, but the lease. They were called lease titles, common law leases. So the land board will just type you a lease and show the land. Then you could get it surveyed and registered at deeds. Then you go on with life. This is what we are proposing, that the government reverts to a parallel to SLT that is giving them a headache and a run for their money. We are proposing that the two systems run parallel.
Exactly.
And not now they've excommunicated the old system. And are having totally excommunicated it because they don't listen. I get but they've been criticized. So when they did it, I went out and tried to, but I mean, I'm a lone wolf. I said, no, please, don't enact it like that. It is going to create a problem. You're not ready. You don't have the systems in place. So they're struggling to give out those titles. So it's the new type. It's a perpetuity. Forever.
I
so
got
the SLT.
you.
But
Yes.
so we're pleading right now.
Okay.
We're at the ministry pleading with them, or no, please continue with that, but allow lease to continue. Because when I can get title, even there are different types of title. There's leasehold title, fixed term grant title, freehold title. It's still title. The bank on that title.
It doesn't matter what the definition.
It doesn't matter.
No, it's neither here nor there.
No, but your picture, your projections fall within they're safe. They're not exposed. That's all. So in order to do that, we need title. And this whole thing, title, Botswana, even the lawyers and whatnot don't really know what title is. There's been people who have been saying that how you can't have title deed for tribal land. I mean, these are professionals saying that.
That's hugely untrue.
It's so untrue.
And they do that. This is from legislation, statute. It is untrue.
Completely false. Okay. But they say it boldly. Even ministers, they can stand in parliament. I've seen that. They say, that's probably why I'm not there. Because certain things you shouldn't say until you have completely checked and sure. Especially if you're going to put nails in the brains of people. That's what you're doing. You are knocking in a nail in the brain of genius. You must leave genius alone. Our kids are dreaming things. Our job is to fascinate them and to show them the possibilities so that they can stand on our shoulders and go far beyond, because they were born after us. They should be able to go far beyond us. But we can't. Now in space, you can't have title to tribal land. Since when? You can. And even then, you can do more than just that. You can take a farm and break it up into pieces. It's called multiple title ownership. You have to plan for animals. You have to convert farming into real estate. I think I'm going there.
We're going there. We'll go there. Yes. We're talking about the paddock and agriculture later on. Now, I'm linking it to what we said earlier. We said it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely.
Huge opportunity. Now we've got tribal, which is where the majority of agricultural land resides. I mean, whether pastoral or whatever type of farming, arable farming, the bulk of it is within tribal land.
Absolutely, absolutely, brother.
And then now you just declared on this podcast that now you can, there are some teething problems, but now you can title your masimo.
Absolutely.
You can title, let me take it further, you can title your maraga.
Yes, you should be able to.
You can title maraga.
Yes.
Technically, legally, you can.
Yes, I can show you. Well, I have to show you how.
Yeah,
Muraga is slightly complicated because it exists. It doesn't have boundaries. You have to create it.
That's the catch. Yes,
you have to create it
because it's only your
point. Yeah, but you see what we forget, because we never follow up on the high hidden things. We forget what we call the plus. It's a TGLP. What we call the plus. It's a Gilbert Sesinyi.
6x8x8.
All these were actually Meraka.
Meraka before.
Yes,
correct.
there were boreholes.
Yeah,
there was a fencing policy. A whole policy that was followed.
I remember.
How to convert. That is not only for government to do? Government has limitations. He did what he did. It doesn't mean we can continue using the same policy. The policy is there of how to convert a borehole point or a borehole into a ranch. But you must follow certain parameters, qualify certain things, tick certain boxes, make certain applications.
But it hasn't got boundaries.
You are creating them.
Okay, how?
These boundaries. By demonstrating, that's how these other boreholes were just boreholes. Think about it for a minute. All the boreholes, so you want to go Western Sun. Let's go to Western Sun.
Yeah, because a lot of them are,
let's start
that's why a lot of them, they've got what you call syndicates, where the guys
Exactly.
So I've got a neighbor who there are 3 guys who banala plasi. But there is a city basabona now in a 6x6 boundaries.
Exactly.
Yes.
Somebody came.
Now relate to that.
Somebody came who then saw the borehole, checked the neighbor's borehole, checked the other neighbor's borehole, saw that they were in compliance with the statutory requirements, and then determined. Ghana, when you have borehole rights, you have grazing rights.
I got you.
So it's a conversion of grazing rights into commercial grazing rights. You are converting communal grazing. It's a change of land use within the communal grazing space. You are converting communal grazing rights that you have been given into commercial grazing rights, which are exclusive to you. So to do that, you have to demonstrate there are no infringements. We have to know where the pathways are to allow thoroughfares, fluidity.
Even without a fence.
First we create the layout. They created a layout fence without fencing. The process through which...
Because communal, they can't fence. Am I right?
Communal, they were not fencing, I agree before.
Yes.
We are talking about the Sunbelt as a case in point.
Okay,
they were not fencing.
Yes.
I'm taking you through the process.
Yes,
they came up with it is first they had to establish all these borehole points and then determine a layout. You draw a plan that accommodates the interests of that community and recognizes that you are converting communal rights into commercial grazing rights. Communal grazing rights into commercial grazing rights.
Follow.
So when you do that, you do a layout. That layout must qualify certain planning parameters like access.
Yes.
You don't want to block people like thoroughfares for others. And then you demonstrate that you are 6 kilometers there. It's an exercise, a geometric exercise.
Yes.
And you do it
There's a whole
That's
from
what
land
they do
board.
before fencing.
Yeah, no.
And after the layout, they look at it and rationalize it and make sure, this layout makes sense. And if it does make sense, they take it, it passes. It's approved. The layout is approved. So implement it. You go down to the ground. Now you can put those fences where those lines are drawn. Now you can have those ranches that used to be borehole points. Exactly. So that's the exercise of converting Moraka into a ranch. So even anywhere where there is a Moraka, follow that process. You are not bad. Nobody has stopped you from adopting the same policies. These are policies that grazing, the fencing policy government has accepted. It's a policy for government. So you are applying it elsewhere. They applied it in the Western Sunbelt successfully. They applied it called TGLP successfully.
So are you saying that can be scaled to the whole country?
It must be.
And I'm saying this because it cannot be that easy, especially with the Kanya Botswana, where we have such a strong embedded communal grazing because of this thing.
It's fine.
How the hell do you deal with that?
There is no, you see.
In other words, you can't even start with, hey, this is all our rights.
No, brother. You see, brother, we shouldn't start with blocks, mind blocks. They are rights. Communal rights are rights. Undivided shares, communal ranches. They must become ranches. We can't have cattle roaming around everywhere.
I have a big problem with that. You must have heard from my previous podcast.
For our cattle.
I'm like, why do we...
are creating soil erosion. We're busting and raping. We're destroying the earth because of disorganized and chaotic grazing. This thing, America, doesn't exist anywhere in the world.
Not true.
It is Stone Age. You don't just go out there and why are we having goats in home? Are we having farms? Is it town and country planning means we plan for cattle the same way we plan for human beings. We create pathways. If we are not to separate, if we can't separate rights, then let those people belong to one farm themselves. Not that they shouldn't have a farm. They must have a farm. Moraka is not sustainable. It will never meet the needs of the modern day that we live in. Never. It is not the kind of farming that, in fact, it's a joke to people, and they look at it and they like us to keep us in Stone Age.
Why are the politicians scared of dealing with this issue? We are about this one 100% about the communal system, 40% damaged degradation of
Yeah.
Botswana land
Yeah.
due to
Yeah.
the communal
Not only are we
system.
going to do farms, we even do sub-farms, smaller farms. Because we need to go scale resolution, not by square meter, but by we need to detail.
No,
land
no, no,
and
because it depends
understand
what you're doing
and
there.
Exactly. It's got different characteristics, and you must know those characteristics.
Some have no capacity.
And you must cutting them off. Give them time. Give them reactivation, rehabilitation. Know what to do with it. Study them. Know how to be able to create a relationship with the earth so it serves you better. Don't fight it, and then you act so without care, with knowledge though, because agriculturists and whatnot, we've learned a lot, even from secondary. Also, to implement them, it becomes impossible because there are no systems in place. So we end up just accepting madness, typical total madness. Yeah, that is not we control environment, and then you do controlled agriculture. You are able to go in precision agriculture.
Absolutely.
Method starts coming in, and then there will not be that ratio about 1 to 20. 1 to 20 hectares for one cattle.
Yeah.
One beast needs 20 hectares. Come on now. I mean, that's for totally unhealthy land. When we can
Which we're sitting with.
Which is what we're sitting with.
Even at the farms.
We can look
we're
after
degraded,
it.
yes, with encroachment
in fact,
and everything.
The farmers Abatu, I just call them big. I have a funny name for them because it's a farm, all right, but it is not what it should be. You are still doing the same thing, just on a scale of all knows. Still about any care, any rotational grazing, any study. There is no management system. That is That's what you've done.
Yeah.
I mean, all these activities, whether cattle feed must have its own title, whether you only they must have its own title. You can't mix
and
things.
Small stock,
separate title. How le man thing say how le madile do dia khaogangwa even so what these guys are coming you can't have it all under one title. I mean, if you have everything under one title, what is that? It is actually a demonstration, and the politicians, it's not like it's ignorance, brother. It's not. What is what I've seen is that we're not dealing with intransigence, which is what I used to think, which made me angry. Now I feel a bit of pity because I know that it has to be.
Yeah.
It cannot be that they don't want to do it.
So yeah. So what we are doing with the podcast, we're adding to that transformation that's required in terms of because I think the fact that we can title Massimo and Miraka, I mean that is
the value.
That's
we
the
will
value.
release
because
we will release so much value. It will be funny.
I was just thinking, if you do that and there's titling of, a good part of that 70%.
Yes.
What is the value of land in Botswana? If you were to do an asset value, that is 10, 100
and then you're
isn't
going
it?
cap in hand to IMF looking for money. You go to the World Bank when you've got all the value you need, and then you can create your own value system. Release that. That's why we say that even the president needs to know what. It's not a question of getting money. We are just asking, take off the handcuffs. That's all. We'll do the rest. Enable. The science is there. The laws are there. Just enable. Allow, get the authorities to understand, push some directives. We will do the rest. We will quantum leap into wealth. It won't take us longer than it took Dubai to get to that level of excellence. We will do it in a shorter time. All we need to do is
you don't have to go through the hard parts.
No. Habe Miraka is unsustainable. It's a cake. It's just wrong. E ka ska re di plus batho ba ba na le di plus ba sa dira decent rona be rakanya or Miraka e ka re be decent. We need to refine even the methods of the plus, because sometimes, like I said earlier, we were off record, I think, when wealthy people run a farm, successfully, follow methodology. You need to optimize. You need to make sure the value of the land.
More tissue, guys.
You need to make sure the value of the land speaks for itself. You need to make sure you create the value release, equity release.
Empower the people.
And empower
Let the economy.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about the value of home. What is the value of the A1, for example? How much land is the A1? Do you know the A1 from Ramatlabama to Ramakwamama doesn't have a title deed? Do you know what if it had a title deed and we value that title deed, what it will mean? The term land value capture, people must Google this. And just land value capture is utilized over the Philippines. Land value capture, it's a financing tool that recognizes the value of the land. possible to do,
What happened as we wrap up the land tenure, and then there's the aspect of, I just wanted your few comments around what transpired in Francistown around this having to buy this 30 land for, was it 45 million pula that was purchased from which came, I assume it was from a freehold that they had land around Francistown that now the government had to pay a heavy price. Did you have any comments around that? Any example of what we are talking about from lessons going forward?
Yeah, totally unnecessary. Waste of money. Totally waste of money. So sometimes I don't even think the value or the money they bought the land
It's worth that much.
It's actually worth that much. It startled us actually when we looked at the value. So I think it's just one of those things that are done in the dark. That lack the credibility of meritocracy. That have never been properly interrogated. Anyway, done in haste for whatever reason. Yeah, we have a lot of land, my friend.
Between seller and buyer.
Yeah.
That's another thing that
we have so much land.
We've got so much land, but everybody's crying for land.
Yeah. I mean, we're crying for land, we have land. Yeah. And the reason why our land appears worthless, and it doesn't really matter where you are sitting. What I'll tell you is, you can take us to the bush. What out here is a bush. If I'm able to create title for that bush, I'll create a township. Easy. Without money. You see, that's another thing. Money of itself is... Money is not non-existent. It's an illusion. It's a measure. It's a shadow.
It's an imaginary
It's an imaginary thing. It's a measure of... I mean, your shadow is not you. Your shadow is a representation that you are there. So money is a representation of value. That value is land. So money is actually land. Telling you there's land. And its resources, by the way. Whether it's gold, silver, and any other thing that you wish to tie to money. So the thing is, it's not money that comes first. No. Land came first. So when you title land and demonstrate the value of that land, then you are able to use that land for generation and create an ecosystem that balances. For example, we work, then we pay rates. Those rates are properly accorded. They're not take these to the fiscals and used for funny other things without proper accounting. Every asset must have its own income stream that is associated with. So it sustains it.
It's itself. Yes. So it's maintained.
How do
assets have to be maintained, yes.
Yeah. And they can only perform whatever benefits that it accrued. How can it be able to go? So what happens is that you title, and then as we pay rates, these rates are supposed to pay for infrastructure. So then we will be able to provide you roads, electricity,
without always have to dig into your savings. Yes.
Yeah. In fact, municipalities around the world are run that way.
They use their asset value. They can even go borrow money to fund further infrastructure.
Absolutely. Even the Local Government Act, the council, how we bar. The council, it never happened in Botswana.
To today.
Some guy was saying to me, friend of mine, he learned when you see street lights off, don't think the council hasn't paid BPC. Council has a huge bill. They struggle. Yet they've got
assets galore.
So assets galore. They don't have any title for any of the assets. None. Because if you find people with no title to their assets in this generation, then you cannot be angry with them. You have to feel sorry for them. If you understood, you cannot. I was angry. Yes, of course. At first, these things can make you angry because you wonder, what the hell? And then when you tell them, they resist. Not to take title. But what title deed? The patala, the colo, everything. No title. They don't even think it's necessary.
Really?
Why? Hey, how about title deed? Title deed, the pipeline is alone. You put so much money on your pipelines and whatnot. Billions. Yeah. The time all the billions we are spending, they're not titling. It's only lately, but when you talk to them forthrightly in secret warrior, you are right.
And titling in simple terms, you are just not valuing the asset that you've built.
That's it.
Is that
simple?
That's simple.
It means
it's like you're not valuing
You're not valuing it.
The value might even be going higher.
And then you can
compared to when you constructed
exactly.
Or you're actually missing out big time.
You are. And that's the model we are running on. And that is why our fiscus is weighing down because we don't leverage. We don't unlock that which is hidden. Where we have poured money, how did A1? How do we do? What people are not dead. They look dead. I mean, the infrastructure that was put in place there, I'm looking at it, salivating, thinking, where will I get my team? Where will I get the necessary combination of things so we go back home and do the marvelous things? I couldn't do it then. We didn't know. That's why my father got study, son. Now that I've studied, I've become of age, I have to go back home. And I can't go back home to play. I go back home
Make impact.
Yes, we have to go back home.
Now, let's get back to agriculture because we are talking land. We've talked about the size of the opportunity, very sizable. I like the second part where we were saying that actually from the laws, we can title Botswana. There's one area that I've always been keen to discuss. Is the good percentage of protected, so to speak, protected game reserve national parks, which occupied quite a good chunk. But hold on it because we'll discuss it later. But going back to the land, because the current numbers, including those that are titled, these are the very unfortunate numbers that we've got. Agriculture contribution to GDP, despite that 70% of land being in agriculture, is less than 2.5%. Contribution to GDP, 2.5%. Despite employing 30% of the country. This is from Statistics Botswana. This is interesting because it basically what it says, which I've said before, it is a good example of an unproductive sector.
Yes, it is.
On this land, for those that are lemang, the average, according to Statistics Botswana, is 0.5 tons per hectare, when the global average is 4 hectares. And some are even doing both 4 hectares.
Yeah.
So interesting. An irrigated land, which is what most countries are going to, it's only 2.8% of cultivated. Okay? And they say the global average is 20% of should be under irrigation.
Yes.
Yes. Which is obviously, it comes with its own cost. And buying pivots and all that. Is also access to water. But I just wanted to appreciate with this seemingly poor performance as is. And I've even talked about the declining population of cattle, which we talked about with Dr. Sinto at 1.5 million, where it used to be over 3 million.
Right.
What do with the current systems? Now, would the policy transformations, which we've been talking about, titling of Meraka, titling of Masimo and all that, will that facilitate this transformation? If not, why?
Well,
is that
absolutely. I must say, the laws have always allowed for this. I did my first breakup of a farm, a tribal. I did one on freehold. Funny enough, I didn't get as much opposition when I was on freehold. But they've been breaking up farms. They're easy. If they want to sell off, they do. Oh, yeah.
And titling different portions.
Oh, yes. In freehold farms, it's just they walk over because it's them. I see this a lot. It's like we are our own enemies. We've got our foot in front of us. And it's it kicks in that thing in authorities. Hello, they look at you. And if you talk tribal land, they look at themselves. And then they go into a mode of rejection.
Defensive.
Yeah. You are taking us out of history in this trap we are in.
Yes.
You want to bring us out. So when I started, it took me, I'll tell you, the things I've done in this country and the length of time they've taken me. And I'm thinking, but it's okay. I suppose, I'm born here. What can I say? I take long for things that should happen. Amazing things. I call them feats. But I'm past being amused by little things I do. Now I want to see them at a national scale. So it took me 2 years to break up this farm, tribal land, to convince the authorities what I'm doing nothing wrong, to take a 6x6 and break it into about 50 portions.
You did that?
Yeah.
And it was simple.
It's a very simple thing, but it took me 2 years. And I go through so much stress over things that I shouldn't be stressing like this about. So I have to explain, and I'm talking scholars.
And it's not illegal. It was not illegal at all.
The law permits everything. I was sitting with young people who have gone to school, who have been taught the old way of thinking. If you go into these institutions, it's not old people. It's young people acting like old people. Because when they get in there, they are then drained by this mentality.
Exactly.
The young people in land board, but change. They're not dynamic. Young people must always have a spark in their eyes.
They get absorbed.
Because life is exciting. They must be always hoping.
And inquisitive and finding out new things and finding what's happening in the world. Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that?
Exactly. Because everybody comes with an answer. So if you are not sparking, then something is wrong. You are being dumbed down. We need to quicken you. Bring back to life. So
you managed with this?
I managed, but they say you are changing the character of the area, Gilbert. This is 6x6 car. I want like the portions of 150 hectares, and I had rationalized it. I'd looked at the vegetation, the slope, and I created servitudes in between. It's a wagon wheel concept. Amazing plan. Everybody, and there will be synergy. Got things to a multiple title concept where this title speaks to that title. How I know
there's a flow. There's a flow.
Yeah.
But they are themselves individual.
Farming together.
Okay.
If I'm producing cattle feed, I'm producing it because I'm giving you my market who are feeding your cattle. Then if I'm feeding your cattle, well, now you are my market who is the abattoir, who kills and whatnot, the cold rooms, the whatnot. But you are able to get titles so that we can sing the song. It's an estate.
I got you.
That makes it possible for things to happen because we are organized. It's just an organized setup for me. So just to show them, but no, you create the sub-farms, you change the character of the area. The area is no longer now, it's not a ranch now. What is a ranch? Here it is written, what is agriculture. And in fact, the development control code, that's why I've asked planners to get out of the way. I'm not a planner, but the planner had to just use his credentials to introduce me to talk to this application because the planners themselves, Liboni, they're not thinking dynamically, they're not moving things, mountains. Yes. They're not trying to, unblock the drain. But they follow the same old patterns. Saying they're very mundane, and no. Development control code allows agricultural land on extensive agricultural land use to be broken down all the way up to 4 hectares. I'm asking for 150 hectares, but I'm changing the character of the area. And then what has that got to do with what is permissible by policy? You can actually do that. The law says one thing. In practice, they get freaked out. So they do tell me, go to veterinary. Well, about agriculture. No, they're not needed. But they just keep going. I'll be with the client, what they're asking us, it's not needed. But anyway, let's
do it.
So
that's why it took 2 years.
Agriculture says, no, why are they calling us? We're not people who are responsible for home. We're okay with your concept. Tell them, but we are not writing anything. So we see how I achieve a SEPE, how I want any endorsement from what thing. These guys are just uncomfortable. Then I come back, then I explain to them. Do you know why farmers are struggling? It is because the farms they hold do not have the requisite value to justify the business case of what they are doing there. And the offset. That's why it is difficult. That's why even Lebo City farm.
Still struggling.
Another property to bond. They don't have even confidence in that.
Struggling.
Exactly.
Well,
So
a lot of farms, people who took loans 6x6, they struggle to pay the loans.
Exactly.
This thing, business case, time to put the numbers and all that. It's just it's almost a fuss. I mean, So we're back to the issue. The numbers is now, they're not looking good at all. Totally. The current landscape.
Totally.
So what does it mean?
Viable.
Now, what does it mean now, turning back to the huge opportunity of titling? Or are you saying if we don't transform as a people, even if we are able to title, we might still remain suboptimal? I mean, how?
Well,
this will help us.
No, immediately.
Yeah.
The minute you reduce, it's economics of scale. Even in a munea, 1. The aggregate value, it hit the whole bag in a while. You see, so things when they are fragmented, things when they are broken into their constituent elements, the valuation of them, that even applies even to property. The valuation here, the aggregate value is higher. So the guy, the farmer I did was worth 5 million. But when I finished doing the rationalization, subdividing it, servitudes, whatnot, just paperwork. Never mind the actual development. Just paperwork. It's valuation. That's top valuation. Because the project title did 50. And then you reevaluate. Then it's now 50 million.
What force?
Yes. That's the secret. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And then you become bankable. To go and achieve that dream on the same piece of land that you couldn't achieve with that 5 million asset that you had in the beginning. So it's value enhancement. Value, it's also equity release and value enhancement. Subdivisions are not just funny things. Leading sectional titles, and it's not just for show. It's for value creation also.
We give you a practical example.
Yes.
We have a 10,000 hectare cattle farm.
Yeah.
We developed paddocks.
Yeah.
250 hectares.
Yeah.
We'll have a camp and then they rotate 250 for the number of cattle that we've sized for that area. And we've got a valuation, but the valuation is for the entire farm. And I'm saying this because I'm sure a lot of farmers can relate to say, you've got a 6x6, you've got 6 paddocks.
Yeah.
Are you saying
yes,
tomorrow
yes,
I can go and start process of whatever definitions of subdivision and actually getting that going like you did with the farm and hunts?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm even saying more than that. I'm also saying you can appreciate yourself through a desktop exercise, the differential in value. If you were to, the value of your farm now.
I know.
If you were to give a valuer a layout, just desktop, give me a valuation of this with all these 250s now as standalones. You'll be shocked at the value that you actually have, that you're not experiencing. And when they foreclose you, by the way, they foreclose you based on the bulk that you have bonded, which you shouldn't. You should be able to release. When I did this, it was actually a solution to a guy being foreclosed and the bank considered.
Oh, okay.
No. The first one I did on freehold land was in Lobatse. This one was not under foreclosure. I was doing it to enhance value and to begin an operation. It's one of the most potent and it's almost like to say, look at what we did in Mamashia. We took Mamashia. Okay? Think about it. On the A1.
The super junction.
Yeah. And then we took Mamashia and took these Masimwa and changed the use into commercial, number one, and broke into, that's why when I the filling station, everything is a bush that has been rationalized and planned and properly managed. Then the value goes to boom.
Is it? The value has been amazing there in terms of growth.
Mamashia is the most expensive piece of tribal land in Botswana today. And I have the pleasure to say I conceived it.
Well done, my friend. Another one. Now let's go to the 70%, which is tribal. Again, talking to the numbers here. How can someone buy Lenzoletau and a couple of different farmers? You've got the farmers that do your 5 hectares by and so forth.
Right.
Then you got all these hinterland farmers.
Yeah.
My 14 hectares. I'm sure you've been very busy with your guys.
Doing all those.
Now, I'm sure most of them perhaps have title, but I want to challenge you to see how can that piece of land, if that 5 hectares gets titled, I'm saying this because they are getting 0.5 tons per hectare. So they're not being productive.
Yeah.
How does this now make them more productive?
Yeah. Exactly the same
Practical example.
Exactly the same reasoning. I mentioned Mama Shaka Boom because Nele Masim. But exactly the same reasoning. Whenever you have a field, 10 hectares, it's too big. Because that's why in law or in policy, you're allowed the smallest size. Always break land down to its smallest constituent.
That's what you're
That is allowed. That is actually the policy of life with land and real estate. To always, even if you have a building, always have the smallest title. So that's why in Dubai, when you have, digressing a bit, when you have a hotel, they call them client-owned hotels. So then they will have title deeds for each and every little room.
Not the floors, rooms.
Rooms. And the floors are common space and the parking and the whatnot.
It's all common.
Yeah, common property, but it's titled. That's common property. So common
like
property doesn't mean restaurant is, but restaurant by the title of its own. It cannot common, yes. Common property, you can actually have title for common property and lease it or sell it to another interest.
Yes.
So what you have is a conglomeration of different interests, but managed under one managerial management company to achieve the ends of the investors or the owners. So that's the game. So when you have land, Massimo, you're allowed up to 1 hectare minimum. So how are 14? Have 14 title deeds. Why? Very simple. How is already butternut? Butternut in the title deed. Tamat in the title deed. 1 hectare. And then you go title deed. Every activity must have its own title deed for a simple reason. So that you, even if you practice or finance it separately. Jack of all trades and master of none. So it makes it even possible to have other people come in. Focus on tomatoes. So you can't do that if it's one big plump title. You lack flexibility. And even then, the 14 hectares will do the same thing that I told you about that farm. Its value will go boom. It'll go crazy on you when you take 14 hectares and give it 14 titles. Then you get more appreciation, your value. Then you've got more flexibility. Then you can bring in other. How long whatever? We can come to you. We create a program. Bam! Once you've got water, you've got life. Then we will be able to go there and create. Even if it's a pioneering thing. Yoga thing. Container. In these programs the mentor home. And we get a project going for the kids. The owner is benefiting, but able to pledge to the youth fund title. And then we are able to unlock value and to get the activity going.
The old lady sitting at the house. But the property is delivering. The asset is delivering.
Asset is delivering. So you must break
the pregnancy has been delivered. That's the title of your book.
So it can do that.
Yes.
We shouldn't hold land in bulk. That is wrong. I mean, when you have 10 hectares, it's too much. When you have 6 by 6, it's too much. Bulk is too much. You bring things down to, even us as humans, we're actually subdivisions, but working for one purpose, an orchestra of different, the ear as a title.
Entities,
I always say this is a title. This is a title. You got a title to integrity, purpose, and what I'll focus here. So these titles serve different things. Title. Even a house like this is one of the sectional title. Sectional title now is about buildings. You take a house, you break it down. Different titles.
The little cottage at the back.
Even this is a different area. There's totally different area. That's a bedroom.
Legally, we can do that.
Oh yes, the government
is going to be bothered by a lot of this request. Naive. All this is happening already.
Those who know are using it.
Are they in majority? Are they doing it?
No, they're not a majority. They're not a majority. Government passed the Sectional Title Act.
Looking at the people out there, is there a huge opportunity to up? Yeah.
We need to teach our people about Sectional Title Act. People are doing body multi-resident. They don't know Sectional Title Act. They don't. Government passes things and then expects people to just know. There's nobody who is a watchdog. Somebody who is a sacrificial lamb.
To see that it actually happens on the ground
and tell it like
and
it
monitor
is.
What it's actually is actually adding value to the economy.
Exactly. We need to teach on sectional title. But why it's things and act. You go and buy it. But how about to tell fine in between. Oh, it's in total. What's our units in 5 on one plot under one title? No. So sometimes the value is lower. When you have sectional titles, the value will be up and you can play around with them. How banking? Say you do alone. Let me give you an example. No, actually the whole 5. How did this sectional title? No, problem. Maybe 75% away along the way. How about foreclosure? They take everything. That's over the value. If you had these sectional titles, how about foreclosure? We're talking 2. We're talking like 3. Because that's what they really need.
You don't lose everything. They only take what they need. That's a good point.
But if it's on one, then they take everything. Little family exactly the same thing. They will take a lot for nothing.
So they can take part of your farm. They can take certain paddocks.
They should. They must take what you owe them.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, you have bonded everything. And then when they take, they'll take everything. But when you are smart, you release as you go on, depending on having
so
fragmented.
that mitigates that risk as well.
Yes.
In addition to the benefits.
There's all sorts of benefits. Good, once you have flexibility and independence, once you have many titles, even the house, you can convert it. Later on, you're not living here. You're living somewhere else, you're old, your kids live, it's a lodge, and it's got different interests. This area, somebody says, no, I just want to run this as the restaurant area, where the people that use Baba Nanka, you can sell this part only. And then Baba no, I can sell you rooms, and then those occupancy, company depending on the occupancy, I will remit what I remit, but this is sold, it makes timeshares possible and all sorts of things. Basically, this is to say that the cutting-edge knowledge of property and land is creating titles, man, of many, many little things that manage the same purpose and cause, which is value creation. It creates, otherwise we are oversubscribed. Our titles, or the bank are just laughing all the way. They don't care. But it's to their benefit, by the way. Remember this. The banks don't have a problem with us giving them bulk when we are valued a lot more. You give them. They won't advise you to do this. It's only now that the cat is out of the bag.
It really dislocates, yeah.
Because it's a win-win, this thing.
Yes, it is.
It's a win-win.
It is. They don't disrupt you as much.
No, they don't disrupt you. And then you are able to gain value out of your investment.
Something.
I mean, how is the Unity 5, El Malteres, middle under one title,
They're gone.
What is that? Okay. Can I king was at least to retain something? Half or whatever. Then also, how about we Tusa? How not so 5? What excel one? You can do that under one title. So you need to have these under separate titles, these multi-rest things, so that you can sell off we Tusa on Alamatata. Woman, how much? Then even your portfolio, the balance sheet. Once you've titled and sectionalized it, the value is up, but the balance sheet will look better. This is what's happening in the world today. It's not things like Gilbert just comes and says.
Yes.
This is exactly what is obtaining, and it can be that we've got evidence if people want to know, and we need to keep this homo flowing until we can teach no more.
Wonderful. They get, and we are coming to an end, and this is so insightful. It's interesting. I mean, even I've learned a lot from from this. So it's. I mean, I'm particularly feeling for the 5 hectare. Massimo, for the 14 hectare guys who are doing chickens. And interestingly, you find that a lot of these people that, especially the hinterland, the hinterland farmers, whenever about your konya, he's doing them on 1 hectare. The rest is totally underutilized. I don't know if you observe the same thing. People, we have this thing of size, but actually not using the size.
Because we don't understand.
If you subdivide it, you can actually use a portion someone else can do and pay you.
Yeah.
Am I right?
When you're sitting there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While you are busy doing your chickens on 1 hectare.
Exactly. No,
with its own.
Yes. About what mama? I mean, it creates such value and it creates such specialization. So that if you, in my book, you see Tongara wine estate that I visited.
Yes,
and
I saw that.
Even met the owner.
Yes, I saw the billionaire guy.
Yeah, and he wouldn't believe the questions. And he said, brother, then I said, I have to ask you these things. Because then I figured out the secret. Yeah, his
sectional. Across even the different wine types.
Yes.
He's actually subtitled them.
Yes. And so it's about Denmark. About Switzerland, about Netherlands, about in the Caribs. It's according to the different vegetation. He would give them the title for that specific location. And then Halike restaurant, and now I just own winery, the bottling company.
Yes, the company that does
all these facets. And then outside.
So that winery factory it's got its own
title, everything. The restaurant is separate. And then the restaurant is separate, the hotel is there, the rooms are owned differently. And then, there are many companies, but you can't see that. Hautzana is called Tongara Wine Estates.
Everything just flows.
Everything flows. Because planning is very important. When we do these things, we don't do them and leave them alone. You have to stay with it so that when it happens, it's a business case. It must happen according to the plan. Because Hausa area is chaotic. So you need to know even what this paddock is good for wine here.
Exactly.
This one, in fact, I mean, I was with my brother, Senai, yesterday. We were passing through. He was telling me about Sibili, great. Yeah. Sibili. We were so reminiscent, nostalgic in a way. He went back in time.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then when he said all this, I said to him, brother, what you told me, you're going to hear it with a greater volume coming from the universe.
You're going to magnify.
Because you are telling me so much.
Yes.
You don't realize. So, Amporella, when this government inherited this farm content, Sibili, then how they arranged
farm content.
Farm content is where Sibili is. What we call Sibili.
Oh, that's Sibili agricultural
it's a farm.
I got you.
Yeah, and before independence.
Where Buan is, yes.
The colonial government owned it. Yes. So they had a whole arrangement of skolo, of seed production unit, of high class, research place, the farm workers are in the school, primary school. And then we're going to lead the community, we're going to lead the farm itself, which is what you see when you're on the A1. So this we got from the colonial government back in the day and never took it into the modern day context. So it is an underperforming asset, no doubt. But always ask yourself, and which I believe the presidents have always asked, that effect. You must let it be. It should bother you because it's telling you something. Or we have land, but we don't know how to use it. So, between there's no active production like there used to be before. I'm pretty sure back then it met the philosophy of land of the time. The white man was using it properly at the time. But he's not doing the same thing that he was doing today. They've advanced their methods into newer, more modern methods of farming or methods of using land that are more cutting edge. So that to do, we would convert that big farm content into the various spaces that it obtains. But because it's government, they probably don't even have the title to the farm itself. They have to look for it. They don't even know where it is. So this is reality.
No, thank you so much. And I think what I would like to give you an assignment, and I like to not just talk things. And also try to monitor. Your assignment is, if you agree, I don't know who's slightly older, you and I.
Same age. Apparently you are a few days older than me. I learned you were born in April, eh?
Yes, April 2nd.
I learned from you came to buy the book. She said in April, no one our energy. But what about energy? So you're older than me.
Yeah, so I can bully you around. So, we discussed this opportunity for people who are titling across the works. Across the works means we are talking Meraka. But even if it takes 12 months, I'm very interested. I'm sure the viewers are very interested. Where are we in terms of, remember you talked about the watchdog?
Yes.
Who sees the implementation?
Yeah.
Where you say, this is the picture of this 70%, but this 70% only so much, or we've made tremendous progress in terms of titling and the value. Maybe value might be a bit tough in terms of valuing, to say the value of Masimo in Botswana. These Masimo are demarcated, so we know where they are.
Yeah.
So what is the problem with actually valuing them and say this is the national asset value of Masimo pre and after, and where we are on track to actually get most of them titled so that the farmers can realize value and we can improve these numbers that we talked about? Is that a difficult exercise from a day? I know Botswana getting data sometimes can be
not really. I did have an opportunity to sit with the minister of the new minister of lands.
Yes.
After trying in the old regime and failing, they wouldn't see me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had an opportunity, and one of the things I pointed out was that we don't have an inventory.
An
inventory, because you need it's where you start with information inventory, what you have.
Baseline.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, I mean, it would be a very easy thing to come up with.
That would be
fantastic.
fantastic.
We have to obviously work very closely with government. And,
Yes.
And so I think let's try and motivate it outside this so that we can be able to get government on board to do an excize. Because everything we do, if we don't monitor, then we're not doing anything.
Yes.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Anything, without
how can you prove it then?
How can you prove it if you don't know it?
Yeah.
So we need to start, and the only way to start is record what is there. Because then we can talk to a particular situation to say, can we target the transformation?
Yeah, so much transformation to reach this. Exactly.
And the only way is information here. Okay, we can pick an area. We can pick your territory or my territory.
Yes.
Because charity begins at home.
Yes. There's a pilot in that area.
Do this pilot in this.
And then after that, it's easier to repeat it. Yes.
So now I can go to Medina. Now I've got all the information on Medina.
Yeah.
If you've got the information
and all that,
you can bring it. I can start with our villages just to pay homage. A little thing, a project there. It shouldn't be difficult. How do you minuscule elements? Then the Kakopa information specific. And then we talk to it, and then we monitor it for I don't know how long you'd want to do that. You put it out there, and then it can be a little exciting thing to look at.
Exciting.
Yeah, we'll start even under live value. I'm pretty sure we can get valuers on board who will help us. Just to do desktop exercises. If you have people who are willing to give of their time for just the interest,
it's not difficult
at all. No,
because this has got practical implications. we are not able to raise capital to develop. We need to take, people grow crops and they don't do it.
Yeah.
They don't look after their crops.
Yeah.
They don't buy fertilizer. They don't do. So hence the 0.5 tons per hectare.
Of course.
So all this, the interest is that one day, before it together.
Yes.
Exactly. The objective is very clear. Is to get this 2.8% of irrigated, to get it to a 10%, because that will boost food production.
Exactly.
So something that can make a difference to the lives of our people.
Yes. And it won't take too much time. It's kind of like this, really, my brother, you'll be amazed. It's nothing. It's nothing. I mean, like I say, I take your village, I take my village. Then we start there. Now my village, my kin and kith go, I've told them quite a number. We've got a group, we speak. They'll be very happy to render populate. It's about populating the maps, also getting information from the authorities where they can help us.
Yes, because the land boards are there, they know, so hopefully they cooperate. This is what our interest.
The land boards are there, they know. I don't know about what the land boards know.
Fantastic, my brother. It's really been good.
What a pleasure.
Please keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Some of us are tracking you and making sure that you don't break, you don't lose the energy of trying to transform. And also,
thank you. I forgot to thank God at the beginning.
But I must do that now.
I must thank God. More importantly, more than anything, the giver of life, the evolver and the sustainer of all things, and that I was able to come and share this moment with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. There we go. Fantastic about land in Botswana and Africa. And please do the needful. Click your subscribe, share. Let's make sure that this valuable information is shared across by our Botswana and also our Africans. Thank you so much and see you in the next episode. Cool.